Many people love to talk about marriage. People love to have conversations about what
Yes.
does it take to become the perfect wife, perfect husband, all of these different things. So today we're going to talk about how to prepare for
For
marriage.
marriage.
Hope you all heard that right. How to prepare for marriage. A lot of people love to romanticize, especially women, I think,
What you talking about?
romanticize about, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of women romanticize about marriage and being married one day, being swept off of their feet, and all these type of things. And on the men's side, I can speak for us. I think we we look at marriage, unfortunately, as just the logical progression in life. Especially the men that I know that have fathers and things like that. They're like, yeah, eventually you just become married, and it just kind of happens. I think for a lot of guys, but it isn't really always clear. And then even worse for like guys like me who were mainly raised by their mothers, grew up in single parent homes, we don't really have a good view of marriage. We have a very distorted view because we've either experienced men not committing to our mothers, or in the case of my household, divorce. So we have a very distorted view of what those things entail. And so a lot of times on the man's side, we have a chip on our shoulder. So we're hoping we could be helpful today and we could talk about how to prepare for marriage. And so I'm going to start off by just saying for men. I'm going to speak for men, and if Cami allows me to, I'll give some tips for women. But generally, she's going to do the talking when it comes to women, because I don't want to smoke with y'all. I'll just give polite tips just from my perspective, but I'll let her talk about it. But for the men, at least in my experience, I think men have to learn responsibility. I think it starts with us really getting a good grasp on what it means to be a responsible man. And when you become a responsible man, that's attractive to women. Now, in the short term,
100%.
it doesn't feel like it for a lot of guys, because responsible guys, guys that are on top of stuff, that aren't out partying, that aren't out doing all of the different things you see people doing, but guys that are responsible and faithful to what they have in front of them are very attractive in the long term.
Yes.
So men, I would say it's very important for you, one, to have a mentality that, hey, I'm preparing for marriage. A lot of the discourse and the way people talk about relationships in just the world we live in today is, oh, well, you gotta just experiment. You gotta kind of go out there and figure out what you don't like, essentially. And I'm not saying that that is entirely false. That you don't need to have any type of experience when it comes to dating or getting to know people. I think there's value in it. Like, I think there's value, and I'll let Cami give her perspective of not having that experience. But I dated because I took that advice. And so I did have a good grasp on what did and didn't work for me, what type of women were attractive to me, what type of women were I could get along with, and things like that, personality types. So it was good. But that's not the only way that you can get there. You don't have to necessarily get it from there. But I think ultimately men are better suited to focus on themselves than focusing on trying to get with a person, because especially for young men, it takes us a little bit longer to mature. So if you really focus on becoming a responsible teenager, responsible young adult, and even just an adult in general, I think that will do you the best. Because then when you get to the point where you're in a relationship, you understand how to handle everything. So being responsible as a boyfriend, even. So you start to understand, like, okay, well, I don't want to do anything that will make her insecure. I don't want to do anything that would be compromising to my commitment with the person who I'm with at this time. And so you just look at things a lot more differently when you really kind of grow up. But that's the biggest issue, I think, with a lot of young men and teenagers is the way our world is set up now is it's really set for us to stay as kids, be big kids forever. And I don't think that's conducive if you have any desire to be married. So I'm going to pass it on to you. Can get some of your thoughts from the woman's side, and feel free to push back or to add to even what I shared.
For sure. I like to say, well, first of all, men and women, young men, women, girls, boys, at first it's all about what I want, what I need, what makes me look good. And so I think I would connect that to what you said about the maturity comes in, and then you're thinking about what would help make your significant other feel good, what would make them feel secure in that relationship, all of that. You got to get away from just what I want, what I need, that selfishness, that in psych, we learned about that, the ego, all of that. So moving on from that, like Brad said, I did not, have like multiple relationships and things, or was in relationships before him. He was my first real relationship. So yeah, but that's not to say, y'all, that I didn't go out and have fun a few times, go to some parties, things like that. Because I like to get up, go get dressed, look cute, get that attention from guys. It's so weird. I like to get the attention, but I like that it was dark. I like that, it's just anybody here, you didn't know them. I would typically go to parties where it's like, these weren't people who could be in my class or something the next day in college and things. So I just, I like that. I was like, and then for me personally, I wasn't like intoxicated or anything. So I was aware of what was happening. I loved it. It was crazy. Anyways, but outside of that, I knew what I wanted. I knew I did not want to waste time. I knew that I needed somebody who was going to make me feel like was worth me putting all my time and effort. I knew I was going to put my all in, period. From day one, since I was younger, I'm a church girl, so I can't speak for every woman. Grew up in the church, on top of the church, under the church. I'm a church girl, okay? So I knew I didn't have time to waste, like I said. I knew that even if somebody was super cute, for me, fresh haircut, fresh line, all of that, when it came to, what were they saying? What was coming out of their mouth? What are some things that they did in their free time? When they start texting you and they ask you certain texts, like, what do you do for fun? No, I don't have time for that. Like, I already knew where it was going.
Right.
I'm just being honest. Like, no. So, preparing for marriage. I think when it comes down to it, male or female, man or woman, whatever, it's about how can I be that person that they would want, and not just I need somebody who checks off this, and this. Because especially as ladies, we got a checklist. And if they don't meet it, if they not that height, then we like, next, we're not doing it. Because we want men typically who's taller than us. That's just an example. But you need to make sure you're the right person. And I'm not just saying educated, because we know women by far, are getting these educations. Shout out to my ladies, going to school, things like that. The numbers show it. But I'm saying, I'm going to take it to the verse, I'm taking it to the Bible. And I thought about the love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13. And the reason why I thought about that, because you can put yourself, well, first of all, they always say you can put your partner or a future spouse, the person you're considering, in that instead of the word love or, charity, and see if they're those things. For you, if you're preparing for marriage, is what we're talking about today, put yourself in that and see, or talk to your closest people around you, your circle of friends. Could you see me being patient? Am I a kind person?
No,
regardless
of
my sign? That doesn't matter, okay? But am I kind? Am I, love is patient, love is kind? All things, does not boast. Like, would I be selfless in a marriage? Because it's not just about you, it's about the other person. It's about going to them and, taking into consideration how they feel about something you really want to do.
Right.
A big purchase you really want to make. Man or woman, having those conversations. Are you going to feel like it? Or are you going to be like, no, this is my money and I don't feel like that? So then, I don't know if you're ready for marriage then because it's a partnership. Man or woman, husband or wife, you're talking about these are the finances you have, and then you want to do that before you even bring in children. Like, that's a whole nother layer.
That's a whole nother layer.
Yeah, basically I would say make sure you're ready. Check yourself, be honest about it, ask the people who are closest to you. What things are you seeing in me that you could say are showing maturity? Or you can say if they know you are trying to pursue marriage, would make me a good wife, a wife that, God can see, that he'll be proud of, things like that. I mean, he loves us anyways, but I'm just saying that would make a good wife for a husband, a man of God. And let them be honest to you. We don't want yes men. We don't want that, because that's not going to help you in growing. But, maybe they give you a little compliment sandwich, tell you something you're really good at, tell you something you can work on, not bad at, and then tell you something else you're good at so you don't start crying and stuff, But you got to be real. You got to work on you. That's what it is.
Yep. So I love that. So she talked about self-awareness. I talked about she talked about a whole bunch of things, really good things. I talked about responsibility, and that ties in. I forgot to mention the scripture where it talks about being faithful. If we can be faithful over a few things, God make us ruler over many. And I think what's pivotal about passages like that is understanding faithfulness. You know, God is faithful to us. He's faithful in the work that he's doing in us. And we want to be faithful to whatever work God has us called to. And we want to make sure that we are taking things step by step as well, not getting ahead of ourselves. I know when for me, I was influenced by what a lot of my guys were doing, a lot of my guy friends, what they were about. They were chasing women. They were trying to figure out, you know, who gonna be their girlfriend and stuff like that, or who they were gonna, you know, have sex with, who they were, whatever. They had all these things mapped out, and there was like this pressure, both explicitly from them and implicitly, that like, okay, who you talking to, like, or you know, who you know, what's up? And you would get these type of questions on a regular, and it make you uncomfortable sometimes. This guy make you feel less of, you know, a man, even though we're all boys, teenagers at this point. But I felt that pressure as early as 12 and 13 to start having relationships with girls, even if it wasn't even my own desire. So young men, make sure it's you. Make sure it's there is a level of truth, like I mentioned before, where like a lot of men just look at marriage as the natural progression, but there is some truth to it in the sense that it is the next progression in life when that season is there. So don't allow yourself to be too distracted with that. But faithfulness is what we're talking about, and what I think is pivotal for us. We got to be faithful over where we're at now. And I think the final thing, and it ties into what Cami was saying about self-awareness. You have to be aware of who you are, meaning that you can't just think about the things that are good. Like, we're conditioned to only look at like, oh yeah, man, I'm handsome, man. I'm decent, and all of that.
I can cook. What you mean?
Yeah, all of these type of vain type of things, where it's like we're only looking at our positives, but you gotta look in the mirror at yourself and say like, okay, I got some things I got to work on. A lot of times we don't want to talk about the things we actually have to work on. We just brush those things to the side. But it's very key as young men for us. Understand, are you a patient individual? Do you have struggles with patience? Do you get angry easy? Are you defensive whenever somebody confronts you about something? Think about situations, whether it was with siblings, friends. Are you easy to approach?
Parents.
All of that. Yeah, so you got to kind of look at yourself in the mirror and start to really see those areas that you need to work on with God, of course, and put in the work to be better in that. And think about conflicts you've had and how you've went about resolving conflicts. Think about all of those different things, because this is just great advice for relationships in general, but
friendships, any type of relationship, yeah.
Exactly.
You have to remember, marriage is ministry. Like, you're not doing this just so you can be a cute couple, not just so you can be goals. You're doing this because God is the goal. You want to get closer to him as a single person, and you need someone who can help you serve him even more. Someone who can fill in the gaps that you have. And, together, y'all stronger, because you're going to fill in the gaps that they have, too. So you have to remember that marriage is ministry. Other people are always watching you. Always watching you. Yeah. They're seeing how y'all react to each other. They're seeing, if you lose somebody in your family, how they taking care of you, supporting each other, thinking about the siblings, all of that. And so we have to remember, it's not just those little cute moments. Yeah, it's work.
No, I love that. And that actually ties in. I remember it now. But what I was thinking about is really prioritize friendship. I think we missed the mark heavy in just looking at somebody and thinking that's all there is to it. Like, oh, this person meets all of my physical attraction, but I can't be their friend. I can't tell you the many of times where I've dated somebody who I had I didn't even consider friendship. I just assumed that everybody you could become their, you can get along with. And of course, if you like somebody, it's like, okay, it's going to work out.
Well, it's too good to be a friend, though.
Yeah, so it's like, friendship. You have to prioritize, focus more on friendship than anything. Because if you don't, and I'm not saying that they should be attractive to you. That's very important. Like, you're playing a dangerous game if you just ignore attraction altogether. But don't let attraction supersede friendship, because in some cases, like I could say, for in the case of us, attraction wasn't what led to us, you know, even giving each other the time of day. I think it was because of situations that we were in, whether it was serving in ministry or just working together in different capacities, where we became friends and friendly, and that led to an attraction.
Yeah, that's huge, because I know a lot of girls who are like me, you know, whatever, but not all of them, is that we don't know how to be ourselves when those cute boys are around. Like, I gotta put on this facade, I gotta look
It's the same
perfect.
for us, to be honest.
Oh my gosh. But the thing is when you are coming at it from a friend level, they're able to see you for you. And then if it becomes something, they're falling in love with that person you are for real. Not when you hurry and put your mask on and be like, okay, I think they're going to be there, so I need to make sure I'm looking right, I'm acting right. But if you all quiet and reserved, knowing you like to be loud, no.
No, that go both ways for
you
guys,
gotta
too.
Be a friend, be real, you know. It's not like you're online. They can see you for you. And that's what you want them to fall in love with, because, again, because marriage is long-term and stuff, you're not going to be able to hold that facade up for long. You're going to slip, and they going to see, they'll be like, she didn't used to do this when, so yeah.
They ain't used to do that.
I'm telling you.
Where this come from?
Start off being friends.
We don't want to put people in a bad situation. I talked about in the last video, guys and girls, we look at things differently. Women get with guys hoping they change a lot, way too much. Don't do that. And men, we get with women thinking, you know, they're going to be the exact same as when we met them. Make sure you take the time to get to know that person, that they really are a friend, because I could have been friends with Cami even if we never got married. Like, I can envision a scenario where we could have been friends because it started off that way. So I think that's what we have to focus in on, is really prioritizing being good friends, someone you can get along with, hang out with, do fun things with, not just do you know, sex and
making out all day,
kiss and you know, all that stuff. I'm not gonna say it grows old, but if that's all the relationship is predicated on,
they're gonna get annoying.
It's not going to go anywhere, because you're gonna have disagreements, you're gonna have different irritations. Both of you are going to feel used. It's not going to be healthy. And so let us know what you all think. Drop a comment below. And if you enjoyed this, like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any notifications.